Welcome to Firewater Review, a weekly podcast dedicated to whiskey reviews. On this week's episode, we will be reviewing Black Maple Hill, non-age stated, the old red label. I am your host, Seth Brown. I'm joined by my co-host, Aaron Cave. How's it going, sir?
Going good. How about you, Seth?
It's going great. It's good to be back in the saddle.
It is. It's good to be back. We've had a few weeks off, and it's good to be back and doing some reviews. And this is, for me, this is kind of a special night because I think this podcast is kind of dedicated to someone, isn't it?
I don't know. Is it?
It is, because when we first started, we threw out a post saying, "Hey, what do people want us to review?"
Oh,
and we didn't,
that's
yeah,
right.
we didn't get a ton of feedback, but we got some. And our good friend Hassie Berg said he wanted a review on Black Maple Hill.
I feel bad now. I forgot about that. I'm glad
Yeah.
you have a better memory than I do.
Well, this one's for him. So
excellent. Yeah, I'd forgotten all about that, man. That's awesome. Yeah, I'm looking forward to this one.
Yeah.
Like I said, we've been out for a couple weeks. I had some health issues that have hopefully resolved themselves, and we had a holiday wedged in there and just life in general. So it's good to be back behind the mic.
And it is Bourbon Heritage Month, so
it is. Yes. This is
so here we are. Great pour.
Week two.
Yeah.
So Black Maple Hill. This is the old label. What can you tell us about it?
So it's 95 proof. This whole line has always been like kind of shrouded in mystery, and it's really neat when you dig into it. You hear a ton of different things. I'm gonna just lay out the facts that I know, that I've read. Who knows if they're true or not? But the brand was kind of first introduced in 2000. It's the brand Black Maple Hill is owned by CVI Brands, which is a spirit importer out of California. The guy that owns the CVI is Paul Joseph, and they do a lot of cognac and brandies and mezcal and scotches, stuff like that. The only bourbons they have on their list of spirits is Black Maple Hill. And back in 2000, when they don't do any kind of distilling, they source everything. They were actually sourcing from Kentucky, and so all the older ones that are actually age stated were said to be sourced wheated bourbons from Stitzel-Weller and bottled by Julian Van Winkle III. After that, it was said that Kentucky bourbon distillers started bottling for them. So that's Willett. They started blending and bottling this non-age statement, and they did that for, I don't know how many years they did that for, but pretty much what happened is you got the whiskey boom. Everyone is kind of running low on spirits, and so when Willett runs low on spirits, they can't provide CVI with this bourbon anymore. So Paul Joseph turns to kind of the craft distillery scene. And that's where the new ones that have come out the past couple of years are some craft distillery out of Oregon. So I think the new labels are say Black Maple Hill, like Oregon.
Yeah, it's Oregon straight whiskey, bourbon whiskey, or something like that. It's more of a squat bottle nowadays.
Yeah. But this non-age statement, it's probably said to be about 8 years. It's probably a blend of some 6 or maybe 8 to 12. Who knows? But if it's coming from Willett, it's a good chance it's Heaven Hill bourbon. Yeah, people go crazy for this bottle. The older ones, the ones that are age stated that are said to be Stitzel-Weller, thousands of dollars. Those things sell for. I've never had the luxury of trying those. I would love to, but I don't ever see that happening. But You never know.
You might
So, but
splurge, maybe win the lottery.
yeah, maybe. You never know. But I've had this bottle open for a couple years now, and I've been kind of nursing it just because I knew it was kind of it was starting to pick up on the rarity, and people were really out seeking it. And then I don't sell my bottles. I open them, I drink them. So I've been nursing this for a while, and I think actually tonight, this one will be probably finished.
Nice.
But that's pretty much all I have, unless you have something
No,
else
I
to
don't
mention
really
about
have a
it.
whole lot. I do remember back, gosh, I guess it was 2002, three, somewhere around in there. There was a larger store over by our old house, and I very vividly remember walking in and seeing all of all of the Black Maple Hill lines sit on the shelf, and I kid you
Mm-hmm.
not, right next to that was the entire Van Winkle line. I mean, of course, they were all on the top shelf, and I think Black Maple Hill was actually more than what the Van Winkles were. You know, when you get into the 16-year-old and the 21-year-old and all that, those were definitely more than obviously the younger Van Winkles. But I just
Mm-hmm.
remember looking at them going, and that's before I knew, you know, about the sourcing of whiskey and all that other stuff. But it's like Kentucky Straight Bourbon, and you turn around, and I've always read labels of where stuff's from. California, you know, I felt like
Yeah.
what's going on? It's Kentucky Straight
Mm-hmm.
Bourbon whiskey, but then it's coming from California. I'm not following this. So I never did buy a bottle of it then. Of course, like I said, that was a while ago, and my income has changed. And if I saw something like that now, I'd probably pick it up. But,
Yeah.
you know, back then I was like, why am I going to spend, I guess at the time, the older age stated ones were, gosh, they were already in the hundreds, I think, even when they first came out. And I just remember looking, I'm going, why would I spend that?
Yeah.
And then you look at my shelf now and go, I've spent that a couple times over.
Yeah. Uh, but speaking of the label, I love the label. It really catches your eye.
Yeah.
And I mentioned that, Willet's the one that is blended this and bottled it. If you read their label, it says distilled and aged in Kentucky. And on the other side of the label says bottled by Black Maple Hill Distilling Co. in Bardstown.
Mm-hmm.
So what does that sound like to you? That sounds like every other Willet product
Right.
that's not,
Right.
Willet. It's like, all the Noah's Mill and
Mm-hmm.
Roan's Creek are distilled by, or not distilled, but, bottled by Roan Creek Distillery or Noah Mill Distillery,
Yeah.
which doesn't exist.
Right.
So that definitely makes me think it's blended by Willet at least.
Yeah. And that's what I'd always heard too. And I think we covered this, or I mentioned it on the Willett Family Estate 5-year episode, that I had heard at one point that some of the older Willets were also sourced from Stitzelweller.
Yeah,
You know, the older, 20 plus year old Willets.
yeah, those 20 plus weeders. I don't know if it's ever been confirmed, but I mean, you see what they sell for.
Oh yeah.
I could imagine.
Yeah. Yeah. I think
So
it's fair to say that people assume the same.
yes, but I haven't tried any of the Oregon Black Maple Hill stuff, but from what I've heard, it definitely took a step backwards.
Yeah. Yeah. I've seen it when it was a couple years ago. We flew through Portland. I forget where we were going, but anyway, we flew through Portland. There was a little bottle shop in the airport, and it was in there. I was like, yeah, no, because I'd heard the same thing, that it had taken a step
Yeah.
back, and because I think even those are what, $50-$60, I think now.
Oh no, those are almost 100.
Are they really?
Yeah, I think the Rye's 100, and I want to say the Bourbon's like 89 or something like that. This bottle, the non-age stated, I think I bought this retail at 50. So
Hmm.
yeah,
Yeah, that's one of those things. The Oregon one, like if I saw it at a bar somewhere, I mean, we don't, I don't, not that I know of. I haven't seen it around here in the Atlanta area. But if I saw it at a store or at a bar somewhere, I would try it that way. But I just can't, especially if it's around $100 and reading the reviews that I've seen. I'm not willing to drop that kind of coin on something that is getting that negative feedback. So that's not what we've got here, though. We've got what is supposed to be the good stuff. But I haven't had any of the older Black Maple Hills either. What was it? There was the non-age stated. There was a 16-year.
There was a 16,
and then a 21, or 23.
I think either 21 or 23. I can't really remember, but
like a purple label and a black label, I think.
Yeah, I think the black label was the 16. I'm not sure off the top of my head.
So anyway, yep, they had a black label and a purple label and different age statements. But we're drinking the non-age stated tonight. So,
all right.
Why don't we take a quick break and jot down some notes, and when we come back, we'll share said notes.
Sounds good.
All right. We will do that when we return. Welcome back, everybody. In the break, we have been sipping on Black Maple Hill non-age stated, the original Black Maple Hill non-age stated. Per our usual format, I will let Mr. Aaron kick it off, and I will bring up the rear. Take it away, sir.
All right, so right off the bat on the nose, I got a lot of sweet corn and honey. A little bit of toffee. There's some great citrus notes going on here. Some like lemon or orange zest. Get little hints of cherry. Some nutmeg. I get a good earthy herbal note to it, but I can't really pick out what it is. Then I get a little bit of tobacco and some heavy oak and light hints of coconut. On the palate, it's sweet. It's got a lot of honey and caramel to it, a little bit of maple syrup, but it's got some great spice there. Pepper. I even pick up some ginger notes, a little bit of rye. That herbalness is there again. I'm not quite sure what. I can't pick it out, but it's got some great earthy notes, some nice leather notes, dry oak, and a little bit of cherries. Finish is medium. It's not. I wish it was longer, but it's just a medium finish for me. Vanilla. It's a dry finish too. It's got a lot of kind of just dry pepper and dry oak notes to it. A little bit of vanilla, and even get a little bit of almost like a cocoa or coffee on the finish. But all in all, it's a good pour. Really enjoyed it. I'm gonna give it a 87.
Very cool. Yeah, I got some of the same notes, but I don't know if it's just because I've kind of been out of the game for, 3 or 4 weeks. I'm ashamed to say, but I think I told you this in a text, but there for a while, if I had bourbon, it had to be bourbon and Coke.
Mm-hmm.
And it's been years since I had just bourbon and Coke as my pour. And even that was just on the weekends. So it's been few and far between where I've had a neat pour. So I kind of felt like, I don't know, my palate, my senses kind of lost a little something. So I don't know. I'll get into it, but I'm fearful on this one. I'll just say that. But yeah, on the nose, it was very sweet. I got a lot of honey, some vanilla, some sweet corn, got some nice oak and nutmeg. There's not a lot of spice or alcohol burn to it, but I was getting some. I couldn't put my finger on it. I just labeled it as nondescript citrus. But I really enjoyed the nose. It was very sweet, very inviting. The palate for me had way more spice up front than what the nose let on. I was getting some black pepper, a little bit of hint of cinnamon, some nice rye spices there. It's a little dry with a little bit of oak poking through there. You mentioned before we went into break that with this likely being Willet, obviously Willet sources. This is probably Heaven Hill, which older Heaven Hill tends to be a little drier, and that kind of sells it for me as being a Heaven Hill bourbon here. But I was getting more of those rye flavors if I roll it around and kind of chew it a little bit. Not, like I mentioned, not sure if it's just me being out of it for almost a month, but I just wasn't getting a whole lot of flavor there. It's got a good mouthfeel, but I don't know, the flavor for me was a little one dimensional. The finish was a medium finish. I agree with you there. A little dry oak with some tannins poking through there, some hints of caramel and light tobacco flavors. So overall, I mean, it's an easy sipper for sure. 95 proof, and like I said, the nose. I feel like if the nose had kind of carried through to the palate and the finish, then it would have been a really good, really solid pour. For me, it wasn't quite living up to the hype, and I gave it an 85.
All right. It gives us an 86. So, yeah, not too shabby. It's a good pour. Yeah, I'm not going to lie. I'm glad I only spent $50 on it. For me, this is not a $300 bottle that people buy secondary. Yeah, I hate saying this, but I took this over to one of the guys around here in Columbus that I get together with, and we, do big bottle shares and stuff like that. And he had one on his back bar unopened, and he was like contemplating on like, do I want to keep this? Do I want to trade it? And that kind of thing. And so I was like, hey, I'll bring my bottle over. You can try it, decide for yourself. And he tried it, and like I think it was 2 weeks later, he texted me. He's like, "Hey, I traded that bottle of Black Maple Hill." But if you can trade it and get something worth what you're trading for, it come out great.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's for me, it's not all what it's cracked up to be. What all the hype's about. But I think what the hype is about is the older ones that are age stated, that are sourced from Sitzelweller or wherever.
Right.
But people still think this is probably kind of along the same lines, which it's a good pour, but it's not the age stated ones.
Right. Yeah, because if these came out in what, 2013?
Yeah, 13ish.
So if it's roughly 8 years, that's what, 2000. What?
Yeah, 5.
4 or 5, somewhere around in there, give or take. It definitely has a lot of the Heaven Hill characteristics to it, to me. The dryness but yeah, I mean, it's an easy drinker, but I mean, to spend $300 on them, it's your money. You spend it how you like it. But I, having tried this, would not spend $300 on it. I'm kind of like you. If I spent $50 on it, I would be happy.
Yeah, I'd buy another bottle at $50 for sure.
Yeah.
But anything over $80, I wouldn't do.
Yeah.
Even at $80, I would probably really think hard about it. And the only reason I buy it is to trade it, maybe.
Right. So, get it for something that you like.
Yeah, but no, it is a good bourbon though. It's good. It's solid. It's an easy sipper, and but it's just one of those. It says right on the label, limited edition, so it's gonna be hot.
Oh yeah, people eat it up, man. People eat it up. So what was it, an 86.5?
86.
86. Yeah, okay. Yeah, because I was 85. You were 87. Math's hard.
Yeah, it is.
Speaking of scores, man, Whiskey Advocate and Fred Minnick. I got to bring it up.
Yeah, you do. I texted you that as soon as I read it.
Yep. You mentioned it to me, and I can't think who it was. It was somebody on Instagram mentioned it to me. Sent me private message about it, asking me if I'd gotten Whiskey Advocate yet. So yeah, Fred Minnick and Whiskey Advocate rated Blanton's a what?
88.
88. And what did I rate it on one of the original bourbon shows? An 87. Suck it, people. Suck it. And I think the one that we did with Jeremy was a few episodes ago. When we had the Blantons from 91 and then the earlier one from this year. I think we gave it, wasn't it like an 88?
It was somewhere between 88 and 90. It was around, in there.
Yeah. I haven't gotten my issue yet. Did it say what when it had been barreled or dumped?
I don't think it does.
I was just curious if it. But yeah, I was stoked, man. It was like 88.
Yeah, a lot of times they do give like barrel numbers and stuff like that, but sometimes they don't. So it's always kind of.
Oh, here we go. Oh, it was number 498. Not that really says anything to us, but anyway, 88. So I'm almost as good as Fred Minnick, the guy that gets paid to do that. No, I'm not almost that good. Anyway, I just had to bring that up. I thought it was funny. All right. Well, I guess that's it, man. Anything else to add or say?
No. Cassie, I hope you like the show.
Yeah. Does he have one? Or he was just curious about it?
I think he was just curious about it. I'm not sure.
Well, you'll have to tell us, Hassie.
Yeah.
And if you do have one, I hope you didn't overpay for it. All right. Well, I guess that does it. Where can folks find you, sir?
Well, you can always find me here on the Firewater Review. I write for the Bourbon Zeppelin, high proof single barrel bourbons, write for the Sons of Winston Churchill with Hassie, and you can always find me on Instagram and Twitter at Bourbon Cave. You?
Excellent. I am Seth P. Brown on Instagram, although I will admit I not only took a hiatus from this show, but I haven't really been on Instagram that much either. So I'll have to hop back on there. But you can still find me, Seth P. Brown on Instagram. You can find me on this show. You can find me on the Son of Winston Churchill as well. And you can find Hassie and our friends at Son of Winston Churchill on Instagram, and that blog can be found at sowchurchill.blogspot.com. And I need to get back on that wagon too, because I've been slacking on a couple of reviews that I need to write up. So anyway, check them out, and I think that does it. So Black Maple Hill, non-age stated, the old Kentucky Red Label, gave it an 86. So until next time, please drink responsibly and cheers.
Later.
The Firewater Review is part of the ABV network. For more information or to become a sponsor, please visit abvnetwork.com. Thanks for listening, and cheers.